Good to go?
Yep.
All right. This is Spark and Plug Talks Season 2, Episode 8. 8, I think.
Nah, it's
9?
like 10 now.
No, it's not.
I think we're on 8 like 3 weeks ago.
No, it's not. I'm on.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, Episode 10 or 11, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe I'll just stop saying what episode it is at the beginning because it just seems to give me nothing but trouble. And today's fantastic musical guest is the talented Mr. Luke Rountree.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming
Thanks
out, man.
yeah,
and
thanks
thanks
for
for
having me.
performing for us. Thanks for enlightening us with your Americana tales of beautiful. I love the imagery in a lot of them. You know what they conjure. They were all great. I liked each one very much. And I was like I was saying earlier, it's very very like Tom Petty-ish, kind of going down the road, like driving music. I thought it was really really awesome. I thought it was
Some Wallflower vibes.
yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, the voice kind of lends itself to the Wallflowers. Yeah.
Definitely too high on the list there for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
You've got quite the barrier to reach. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, awesome, man. And once again, thanks for coming out. So before we dive into those 4 songs you played for us, maybe we'll set the foundation and the musical heritage of what you got. What'd you start listening to when you were younger, kind of coming up? What'd you listen to that you were like, music's pretty cool?
Yeah. So music probably first. My mom is a singer, and so there was always music in the house. And then my dad he's not a singer, but he definitely loved that 70s rock,
Oh, very cool.
which we'd now probably call country. But so growing up with the Eagles and the Doobie Brothers and all the Chicago and that kind of
a little easy listen.
Yeah, that kind of stuff at our house. But then one of my best friends growing up, lifelong friend, his dad, he's like one of those guys that likes all kinds of music. But what he introduced me to was, funny enough, was like 50s doo-wop.
Oh,
and,
wow.
I noticed you had a record over there, Del Shannon.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Just because of him, I know who that is. And we'd listen to just so much of that 50s pop and rock, and then also the 60s, with Dylan and the Byrds and, everybody, all the people you could name that are.
So you've got a pretty vintage well that you're drawing from.
Yeah, that's what started it at a young age and kind of got me obsessed with just music in general and melody and then as I got a little older, you find your own music at some point, not your parents' music. You try to find your own. And for me, I grew up in the 90s, so I missed the grunge era, but I I missed that grunge, but I did catch the middle and became obsessed with all the English groups, like
okay, cool.
Radiohead and I don't know if you guys know like Travis or Doves or
What about like Granddaddy?
Yeah. Yes, I didn't know. A lot of people don't know about
The Verb.
who that is.
Verb.
The Verb. Yeah.
Verb.
So that definitely, I don't know, something about and everybody knows this band, but I love them unashamedly. Oasis. And
I
so
don't think there's anything. I think it's kind of like Nickelback in a way. People just started. I will say, is it Noel?
Yeah.
That's the.
yeah.
Is he the huge jerk? Is he the singer?
No.
Which
Liam.
Liam's the huge jerk.
They're both the huge jerks.
I'll say Noel Gallagher's a dick. Too,
Yeah.
but like he's
but
just like
Noel
a quiet
at least
dick.
kept going on with music, where I'm kind of like irritated that Liam just was, you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of like, man, keep doing music, like because I love I even love Noel Gallagher's like Flying Birds or whatever.
Yeah.
I think Liam was too busy being a dick.
Yeah.
Like,
A rock star.
Like he just liked being a dick so much, and the musician second.
Mm-hmm.
So he just-
Definitely.
Yeah,
After they got out of Oasis, he just like continued to be a dick.
Yeah, there must have been some crazy like, there's some crazy power tripping going on there.
Well, can he play anything? I mean, he probably can play a little bit of guitar.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you stand in front of millions of, well, maybe not millions. I mean, their gigs were so big, like you would have a power trip. You would think
True.
my songs are the cream of the crop of
Yeah.
all this.
Well, I mean, yeah, definitely.
It would be hard not to. So.
I was trying to think of someone, but I was like, I don't know. You know, the first person that popped to mind, Power Trip, I was like, Bono.
Yeah.
you know, like that definitely seems like a guy.
Yeah.
It's like the South Park episode where whatever, he's like in Africa pointing at all the kids. He's like, yeah. Just
yes. That. But so yeah, there was a lot of that music I grew up around and in the house, and I'm really appreciative of that because
it's cool heritage.
Yeah,
you know?
it definitely is, and it taught me. It gave me an appreciation to like all kinds of music and not get stuck in a genre because that's really easy to do, and especially when you are 13, 14, 15 and you're listening to your own groups and you're like, this is the stuff, and of course I fell into that, but then you kind of are like, oh, I remember Dad's music. I remember,
right.
I remember Dale Shannon. That song actually is pretty good. My Little Runaway or whatever it is. Yeah, lots of different music growing up, and that's what I hope. Is when I started playing or started writing songs when I was in my teens, like a lot of kids who pick up the guitar, like my son is doing now. He's picking up a guitar and with the 4 chords he knows, trying to write a song.
Right.
And what a lot of us do. My uncle kind of laid out. He wrote on a big sheet of paper about 5, 6 chords, and he's like, "Learn these." And it's like, okay, all right, I can do that.
That's exactly what my dad, my grandpa, they were just like, well, you got to learn a few chords first. And I was like, man, can't you just teach me how to play Tears in Heaven?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
all I want to. I'm trying to pick up chicks, but yeah, I totally get it. And it's like it was weird for me, because like me and Aaron, we like started with studio as like studio children, because which is pretty much not the norm, It's like, it's kind of, you start off in your bedroom, which we did, but instead of like going and being like, we need to go play shows, it was more like, okay, now we're going to go and hang out in the studio, Gramps' studio or whatever. And we'd go and sit in there and watch and the live performance of everything. And it almost writing kind of came second. Like it was like, trying to learn all the studio stuff. And then, it's just funny looking back on it. Cause I think when we first started trying to record stuff, we were just kind of like, let's just play something and record it. It was like, so
it was all really quiet. Then like Adam came in and was like, "Oh man, you need to throw a compressor on everything." And so we just started
just compressed the shit out of everything.
When I heard it, I was like, "Oh man, so it makes the shit louder." Okay, cool, which it does. And so we just started compressing every fucking thing.
That's awesome.
And I still have some of those like old ass recordings, and I'll listen back to them.
They sound squeezed down.
Dude, they sound so fucking bad. I'm like, wow, like no EQ, just compression. It's just like nothing was panned or anything. But we're like, this is something.
That's awesome. Well, you always have something like that. I grew up right before, like, so I was, when the internet and all that came out, I was like a late teen. And
very exploratory period.
But before that, so you guys talk about being in a studio. My mom was a teacher, and I took one of her, they used to have these like old tape recorders where you stick a tape on one side and it's got the speaker on the other and a microphone in the corner. Mm-hmm. And it was for like reading, right? And you would read along. So I took one of those and like you said, had this, world-changing song. I thought I had Tears in Heaven, that I'd written in my room. And so I started playing it, and I'll never forget the day I figured out, I was like, okay, I can record into this, take the tape out, put it into my other tape player, and then put another new tape in the recorder, record one tape and play the other one, and then play along with it. So I was like overdubbing with these two very
nice
dinosaur piece of equipment.
Like, the ancient way of overdubbing.
Yeah, but
now those units sell on Reverb for like $800.
But I thought it was the coolest thing, and I was like, those. It's kind of like those watershed moments you have as a young kid, like learning, finally getting the F chord, right? You got those 2 strings barred, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm amazing. I can finally do it.
Wonderful Tonight, I was trying to learn that solo.
Yes.
And I couldn't do it. I couldn't bend the string. I remember getting like beyond frustrated, like irrationally angry that I couldn't bend the fucking string. And then one day it just happened.
Yeah.
And like I was like, holy fuck, I did it. I'm
It's
a
like-
lead player.
Yeah.
I can play solos now. And it was just like from
Yeah.
there on out. I was just like,
think
holy
that-
shit.
I think that next watershed lead player moment is when you discover pinch harmonics for the first time.
Yeah.
And
Well, you
then-
discovered it the first time a long time ago, but you could never replicate it.
Right.
You're like, what the fuck was
when you're
that?
able
And
to
you couldn't
replicate
do
it
it.
for the first time. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then it's like the compression. That's all you do for about a year. And that's like, this is what I do right here.
Oh, yeah.
I can
It's such a
bend.
crutch. Yeah. Or you get like a wall pedal.
Yes.
Everything's wall.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We bought so I started writing songs like in my teens, and like everybody who had a garage band, and we me and another friend started writing songs together. And you reminded me of it because the first amps we bought were Line 6 Flextone 2 amps.
Mhm.
Because at the time you're like, I got all these sounds with $800.
What the fuck's an insane mode?
Exactly.
Our buddy Jared had a Line 6. His dad got him a Line 6 Spider, the 50 watt,
Yeah.
like the 212s. And I remember like being so jealous of that. And so like, oh my God, I want one so fucking
It
bad.
had a wall pedal on the board, and
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
you reminded me of it because we used that wall pedal. All the
Yeah.
time.
I know-
Everything had a wall on it.
Jared had all the presets, but it was like, instead of like welcome to the jungle, it'd be like welcome to the Sahara, and you're like, what is that? And it's just like welcome to the jungle tone,
Yes.
and you're just like, oh,
Yeah,
I got to make money off this. This
Yeah.
is too good. Yeah.
there's got to be a way to make money out of this.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Line 6 had that shit cornered, dude.
They
had that
did.
market cornered.
And now they made the green delay pedal. Everybody, it's like
Oh, the delay,
it's like the holy delay pedal.
the DL4 or
Yeah,
whatever.
there you go.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, that stuff is so different. I don't even know the difference. I just know Line 6 was doing something different than like all the walruses and the Strymon. I got one on my board because sometimes it's easier to play at a show
Those-
without an amp.
Those
than-
Line 6 pedal boards they're kind of cool. I had a FX one
Mhm.
that like you could Bluetooth your phone to, and it would like, you could like upload all the songs that you had in your library to it, and it would pull the tones from those songs. So if you're like wanting like the Sympathy for the Devil tone, it would like somebody would have made that tone and uploaded it to the cloud. You can just download it and then put it on your board, and so you'd have that tone.
That's amazing.
And it was like an early Kemper. And I was like, damn, Line 6 is one of those companies.
Kind of
where they-
ahead of its time.
Yeah,
just
they throw a bunch of shit at the wall and they hope some of it sticks. And that was the time where like it stuck. And
Yeah.
you're like, wow, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, and technology caught up with it finally, and then Kemper and all those.
It really,
those-
it was like
yeah,
it was legit, and this was only like 2014,
exactly.
But like it was the Kemper before the Kemper.
Yeah.
It was sick.
Everything's moved so fast. But
yeah.
yeah, we would play gigs at our high school and all that with our big Flextone 2s. And that's,
They got the job done, man.
They
Fantastic.
did. You
Yeah.
know, it taught me a lot about effects without having to beg for my parents to buy me another
Yeah.
delay pedal or compressor pedal and not really
Well,
know
man-
what that compressor pedal's doing.
Line 6 is like the new age version of the PV stuff. Like back in the 80s and 90s, in the 80s, PV really tried to make good shit, which they did. But they started getting to the point where everybody was like, oh, this is just like the bedroom guy or,
Right.
the local bar band stuff.
Right.
And then now it's like, you can find like a PV Bandit and they sell for like $500 on reverbs. People are like, oh, these are really cool amps.
That's a great comparison.
Dude,
Yeah.
15 years from now or 20 years from now, Line 6 is going to be the same fucking thing.
I
They're
know.
like, I got the OG red Line 6 Spider, $800.
I will.
Oh my
I know
God.
what I have.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah,
I will
no low
regret
ball.
trading my Flextone into Guitar Center for $75 or whatever.
Oh
it
yeah,
was
dude,
at the
no,
time.
it's worth it now. Dude, they're like, this has the made in China chip or the made in Taiwan chip
Right.
and stuff, and they transferred to the made in China chips. The made in Taiwans are really better.
That's
It's gonna
exactly
be crazy, man. Yeah.
You heard it here first. I'm calling it.
Yeah.
I like it. I'll remember.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Luke, so as you're right, when did you first start in that period of writing, when did you first start writing songs that you were like, okay, these are definitely a little bit better. I take these out. But were you always playing shows? Was that kind of like a
Yeah, we always tried to play, whether it was just in front of our friends or whether it was like a real show. We tried to play as much as we could, and I was really fortunate to have my friend who he wrote songs and I wrote songs, and it was a really safe space to like share ideas.
yeah.
there was no, you know, like, of course you're nervous to share ideas, but there wasn't like bashing, if that makes
Right.
sense. We were naive and young enough to just be like, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, another Wall song? Hell yeah, let's do it.
exactly.
But you know what you need?
Yeah.
Turn that line 6 pedal board on
That's right.
and use that wall.
Are
baby.
you not playing with the wall on right now?
Get off the black panel mode and go to line 6 insane.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then drop D it.
You can hear them. Like,
Oh
who the
my
fuck's
God.
not in insane mode right now? Guys, we all have to be on insane mode.
Dude, that sounds just like Rage Against the Machine.
Yes, that's exactly right. So, and we'd play in my parents' basement. We'd write songs. I would say we probably started writing stuff that would be, I'd still be embarrassed of today, but it wasn't as bad. 17, 18. And so when our senior year, we recorded an album, speaking of old technology, but it was, you might help me remember, but there were those 8-track decks or like 16-track decks that people would record on, and
Like a task cam.
yeah, that's what it was. And so that was our first time like ever to.
Dude, good for you, man.
To-
Because Dylan and I tried to figure out one of those, and we almost got like in a drag out fight. We were like, I was like, no, you got to do that. And Dylan was like, I already tried that. And I was like, I don't know what to do either. And it was already like 11:30 at night. And we're like,
Yeah,
fuck it.
it was bad. Yeah.
Well, we didn't do it. We actually paid somebody. So we,
Oh,
yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay,
what
yeah.
that's
we
what
were
we should
like,
have.
we were like,
no.
fuck this thing, you know?
Yeah.
We like threw it away.
It was horrible.
We did it in an old shed and recorded like 6 songs, and then the next year went to what I would call a professional studio at about 18, 19 years old, and recorded
Oh wow.
11, 12 songs of that we had written, and that song or that album you can actually find on Spotify because we put it on there, and it's definitely embarrassing, but
Well, I think
it's okay.
in hindsight, it's like, oh, I write so much better now. But at the time, it's like the best you could have done.
Exactly.
So I think there's definitely songs that when you're like 14 and you write that you shouldn't release. Like you should not put those out there because they're just like, like whatever. It's a cover of Kids of America or whatever.
Agreed,
And it's
yeah.
like, you're like, all right, don't play those. But like, there's definitely some formative songs that like at the time, of course, because you don't know that maybe you're cutting corners on some things or like, oh yeah, we definitely shouldn't have played that solo there
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But hindsight, you're like, wow, what were we doing? You know, but it's hindsight, it's always 2020.
That's perfect the way to put it. I mean, not everybody can be Dylan and, pick up a guitar and write "Blowing in the Wind" at the age of 20 or whatever it was he was.
Yeah.
like, there's
Yeah.
there's one of those.
Yeah, there's him.
There's
That's
him.
why no one else will
Exactly.
be him.
There's-
Nah, man, we had a song called Uptown Funk, and that was the dumbest shit ever. But damn it hit hard though.
Yeah.
Like at the time, we were like,
Yeah.
fucking A, this is awesome.
Exactly. And you're looking around at each other while
Yeah.
you're rehearsing it, like this is it.
Yeah, we're like, but
Oh my god.
none of us knew what to do after that. Like
Yeah.
what to do. Like we didn't know what the fuck a WAV file was. Like what do we do with this song? So I never did anything. We just had it, but we always
It's so
like, this
funny,
is awesome.
dude. Because like, and I remember at the time, like it's funny you said Uptown Funk because I remember at the time we were like, quote unquote, recording
Uptown Funk,
that
downtown
flavor, baby.
God damn.
And I remember at the time we were
That's
recording
awesome.
it, and we were
It was.
recording it. We were recording it like we were literally recording it like Adam and Gramps. They were just like, "Oh yeah, you guys can use the studio when we're not using it." And we were like, "Okay, cool." So we're just like pressing random button to turn it on, random preamps and everything, and we're like, "I think this is how we're supposed to record it," So
In
it
hindsight, we were like recording everything with compression already on it, and then we
Yeah.
would compress it again in Logic.
And-
It was fucking
and
crazy.
I remember recording it, and then I was like, our buddy Jared, we were like, all right, Jared, get in there and record a solo, because he was the only one of us that could actually play a solo. And he'd get in there, and he straight up just ripped off every notice to the Sympathy for the Devil solo, and it was just like, and we were like, oh my God, that is so good. And later I was like, that kind of sounds like the Sympathy for the Devil. And everyone was like, shut up. No, we're just going to go with it. I was like, okay.
No, it was definitely.
It was the Sympathy for the Devil solo, like note for note.
Yeah.
And so it's I can confidently say we've come a long way since then, but I think it's like you were talking about. It's like so important to your formative like musical identity, you know, to mess around with that stuff. And even if it's stuff that you may not necessarily be proud of later, like it's just so awesome to finally hear it back and know that like, you know, you did it, you wrote it, you recorded it, you put it in your own ear holes, and like people can listen to it and stuff. But that's so because there's we were in a project called Moses and the Long-Legged Emus. Like it was our little studio kind of deal.
You guys are good with words. Moses and the Long-Legged Emus.
And
what was the song called?
Downtown Funk.
And what was the other? The Downtown Funk.
Downtown Funk, Uptown Flavor.
Yeah.
You guys, you should like.
Hey man, I gave you permission to use Downtown Funk,
like
Uptown
You're
Flavor.
you're literally the only guy that's been like, that's awesome.
We had another name named Phallus, and that was the
damn it. That was going to be such a good name until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't. Yeah, there was there's a little ghost town that is right by here. You know, it's like it's only 6-7 miles from here.
Oh, you mean Phallus?
Yeah, like the town.
Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
it's like a stone's throw away.
I'm with
it's
you,
it's like right across one of these.
And there's people that live there, so it's not just like an empty. But it's this.
That's why everybody wouldn't go to party because no cops were out there.
Okay,
and so we grew up, and all of our friends lived out there.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, it was a happening little place back in the whatever.
Fucking
30s or whatever. There was a railroad that ran through there and everything. So
there's a ghost town and stuff.
Yeah, and it's definitely quote unquote ghost town. But so we were like, oh, what a great name, you know, Phallus, whatever. And I had that same music instructor that I was telling you about with Gabe. You know, I went to him and I said, look, check this out, man. We recorded this song called "The Tallest Wall." And that song was actually like,
that song's legit.
Yeah,
that was actually a really good
pretty
song.
good. If we ever went back and touched those up, if we were ever that dedicated enough when we're like 70. We'll go back and touch those up or whatever. But I went and presented that to him, and he was like, man, yeah, your voice has got personality. The production, you know, for being what it is, it's good. I like it. And what's the name of your band? And I was like, Phallus. And he was like, like penis? Like phallic? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh. All right, well, okay, yeah, it's a name. And man, I went back to him a week later, and he was like, you know, I was watching this documentary about the ancient Romans, and they were talking about how they made statues, and they kept saying phallic, and that's all I could think of was your band. And I was like, damn it, Hendrix, man. Like, and then
that shit was released, dude. It goes on Spotify and iTunes.
And then it cemented itself when I said something to my grandma, like, yeah, we just put out, Phallus just put out a band. She was like, penis? What? And I was like, it's not phallus, like not phallic. Come on, man. And she was like, all I heard you say was like like penis. I was
grandma
like,
gets it. You're done.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, Aaron, dude, we got a problem, man. And he was like, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm like, dude,
I was still on the fence about it, and then this was happening when I still lived with my parents, and I was in the living room, and my mom was talking to my sister on the phone, and she was like, oh yeah, he's got his little band. They're called like Phallus or something, like the ghost town. And she was like, huh. Yeah, I wouldn't say Phallus. We've always called it Dick Town over there. And I was like, fuck me, dude. It is. Like, it's just going to be the Dick Band, just Penis Band, just Long Dong John Band, you know, just all this shit.
So,
fucking sucked.
For every Phallus,
we took forever to fucking come up with a band name. We were called like the fucking Scarlet Temples at one point. That was so bad. We're called like, I can't remember the other ones. And then I was driving home one day, and we just got done talking about, like, we need to find, like, a band name. Yeah. And we're like, well, it'll come to us. And I was like, Phallus. That's perfect. I ran by Dylan. He's like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. Let's do it. And then we were riding high on a hog for about 2 months until everybody's grandmas
just cut your legs out from
so
under
let that be a lesson for you. For every Moses and the long-legged emus, there's a Phallus.
Yeah, then we followed it up with that name, and everybody's like, Moses and the what? And they'd never say the full name. They're always like, how's the long-legged ostrich band going? Or some shit.
They're like, how's Moses? We're like, hey, man, it's hanging in there, you know, but it's
that name stemmed from we just built the studio when we came up with Moses, and we were in a band, and it was kind of like having a hard time getting off the ground. And I was like, man, I just want to like do shit in the studio. Like I got an itchy trigger finger here. And I was like, let's do like a Steely Dan band type band, like just studio shit. But like we can call it like Walter Cronkite in the League of Magical Discovery.
See?
And Dylan was like, "No, we can't do that. That's like copyright issues. Like his estate will come after us." I was like, "Fuck!" And we just started brainstorming.
Like, would they really? But
but we were like, "But you never know. You might write the next song.
Yeah.
Might be the next fucking I don't know, like Free Falling or something.
Yeah.
might be the next. What's that one band? Funky Town. Come my lady, come my lady.
Oh,
You're my
fucking
butterfly,
Crazy
sugar,
Town,
baby. Yeah,
Butterfly.
Crazy
I
Town.
fucking love that song. I drunk bought that one time off iTunes because I was like, I love this song so
think
much.
it's
And I didn't
everywhere
have
you can
Way
buy that
worse
song.
purchases.
I
I'm
didn't-
just saying.
I didn't
dude,
have
that's
Apple.
a good one.
I didn't have Apple Music at the time, so I was like $5.99. Fuck it, and bought it. And I was like, hell yeah! And I was like, why did I buy this song?
I just have
crazy.
the video etched in my memory, and
That's a good. That's nostalgia for me.
yeah.
Yeah,
My
man.
sister used to listen to that
Oh
song.
my gosh,
They're still out doing it.
are they?
Yeah, I think
they're-
so.
No, the singer's like on death's doorstep though. Like
oh,
he's
for real.
like not like
He's
he looks like a fucking crypt keeper, like a methed out crypt keeper.
Oh,
and
Lord.
stuff. And you're just like, oh, he's not doing it anymore.
Mhm.
Poor guy. He's like a Vince Neil type thing.
oh, yeah, well, they're trying their best. You know, props to them.
Hey, they had a song. They did it.
That's true.
They
They fucking
broke
did
through.
it.
They were on-
Hey man, no matter what I can say about it, they've done more than I ever
That's
have.
that's
so
how I
fucking
feel.
props to them, dude.
Exactly. They're having people buy it drunk on alcohol
Exactly.
on iTunes,
They
buying
got,
their
they,
stuff.
they got the best of me, so I gotta give it to them, dude. Touche, Crazy
Props
Town.
to Crazy
Touche.
Town.
Yeah, you got my
That's
ass.
awesome.
Luke, what was that? Before we get off of it, what was that one band that you were saying you can still find? Is it under Luke Rountree or that other band you did with the?
So I think the first one was under our name, and then we did another EP, which was actually probably the best we ever sounded like in 08, and it was called Up From Under was the band, and we played around here, played in Tulsa, and did like this was before we were married, and some of the band members had kids and stuff, and so we kind of toured a little bit acoustically,
Oh, cool.
regionally, and kind of got the taste for things like that.
Yeah.
And then life takes its course, and we ended up moving different areas, breaking up, kind of basically broke up the band.
Yeah.
No behind the music special, but there was.
Ah.
Don't you love to romanticize your life like that?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like-
It's like I was waiting on him to call VH1.
There's still sometimes I think about before we do something like, all right, how am I going to explain this in a later interview?
Exactly.
But it's like we played at the Chicken Shack to like 20 people. No, it's like they ain't making it behind the music about
That's
this
right.
shit.
That's right. We play a show in Tahlequah, our home town where we both grew up, and it's like mom, dad, and all our friends are there. So
What?
that's probably equivalent to the Chicken Shack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys play any really cool shows, or were there any like shows that you were to kind of stick out in your mind?
Yeah, we played. There was a show we played at Northeastern University, which is in Tahlequah, where we're from. That sticks out. We opened for some band that was kind of they were up and coming. I don't remember the band. I just remember this cool Wartlitzer that the guy had. But that was a really cool. That was like one of the first times you play in front of like more than 100 people. But I can't remember how many people were there. And you thought, whoa, you get the adrenaline rush.
Yeah. It's like
a
You're
legit
I could
show.
do this. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then we played around here, the conservatory. We did some shows there when it was. Is it still around?
The
I drove by there the other
conservatory,
day.
It's,
but it's
89th
89th
Street now.
Street. Yeah,
Okay. Oh, that is
89th
80.
Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Thank you guys for educating me.
Yeah, it has risen from the ashes many a times, I've been
Yeah,
told. But
yeah.
yeah, it is now 89th Street.
Okay.
And they do pretty, I mean, I don't know if they do pretty well, but they definitely put on a ton of shows.
Right.
They have a ton of shows come through.
Every now and then they'll get like a
Big name
like
act.
fucking
like
Drake Bell or
Mhm.
something. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
Drake Bell.
Baroness. I saw
Baroness,
Baroness
yeah.
there.
That's
and that
fucking
was
great,
that was
yeah.
an awesome show.
It's a cool little venue.
The guy who played drums on the album, his other band played there a couple weeks ago, and
cool.
so it was. I think it was Coat. Have you ever heard of them? They're around, but
It's very
Uh,
familiar. I feel like I've seen the name. Like I can picture the image of the
Yeah.
name seeing
I
it in
think
my
they
mind.
played
but-
there. Is Beer City the same as 89th?
No,
No.
Beer
Okay.
City is
That's a new venue.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
It's pretty
Never mind.
new.
I think
Yeah,
they
it's
played
what it's 7-8 months old, something like that. Maybe
Yeah.
older,
Okay.
10
Maybe-
months, something.
Maybe
Okay.
barely a year.
So yeah, we played around here. We definitely, we were talking earlier about 2 years of work, and we did record that third EP ourselves, and like it was it was our time to push the buttons and learn about, all those kinds of EQ and how to actually make an album. And it was a ton of fun. Thankfully, we only did 6 songs, and I think that's what didn't burn us out on it. But that album was probably the best, our peak. But like I was saying, like you go 2 years, you play as many shows as you can, you kind of look around, and you're like, all right, we're still not where we wanted to be.
Right.
But that was, that was just the track that band was on, and some of these songs on this album that I just recorded are some leftover that I had for the next album, as you talk about planning for your the next interview. Like, all right, when we do our next album, these will be on there.
You leave like this little shit at the end of the song, and you're like, yeah, we'll explain that in our biography later, or documentary. Like, yeah, we left this 15-second spurt of Dylan farting on there, but it's a minute and a half in, so you got to listen to it. A minute and a half of silence.
Exactly.
Like nobody fucking
hidden
knows.
track. Yeah.
No. Yeah, we did that on our second, like our first real one. We did do a hidden track, which is like, why did? But we were 19. And we were,
that's cool, man.
It was the cool thing to do.
Dude,
in like 2000, 2001. It was a good song that was hidden, but it was like, why did we?
Well, we listened to Kitchenware and Candy Bars from Stone Temple Pilots
from Purple, and it's like the best hidden track ever.
It's like 55 seconds after the last song of Kitchenware and Candy Bars.
Yeah.
It's like
it's like a lounge.
Yeah, it's like a lounge song. And we were like, this is the best thing ever.
It's so funny, dude. It's really good because Kitchenware and Candy Bars is
an awesome song.
It's the last song on Purple, which is Interstate Love Song. It's their biggest album, and that song's like super serious. It's about, I think, abortion or something. Like he had his girlfriend, Scott Weiland's girlfriend at the time, had an abortion or something, and it's him coming to terms with it. And then it's like this super long, like minute-long silence. And then it's like lounge music, like...
Whoa.
But it's really good, though. And he's like really good.
And he's singing like all these dumb lyrics.
The second album.
Yeah, he's like...
12 gracious
this album
melodies.
Cover, bum, bum,
oh my gosh,
looks kind of like Johnny Manthus for Manthus lovers. And it's just so cheesy and hilarious.
It's only for like
but it's
2
awesome,
minutes.
man. It just makes you appreciate them a little bit more because they're like, there's something endearing about an artist or artist band who may not take their music so seriously that they. So it's, I don't know, that's like my favorite hidden track song ever, and it's awesome because it's also not its own track. Like you have to, it's a whole track of the last song, that's like 8 or 9 minutes long or whatever. So
no, definitely, like if you got to find humor, and I agree with you. Like the bands that I love or the artists, songwriters that I love the most are the ones that can kind of laugh at themselves.
Yeah,
and make fun. And that's so funny. We're talking about hidden songs because there's no such thing as that anymore.
Right.
Like you see the album on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it is, and there's and you wouldn't put a hidden song on a vinyl because you don't have as much room, right? So I think like hidden songs were the era of the 90s, 2000s.
Beautiful
like
product
CDs.
of the CDs.
Yes, where you have
CD
all
era,
this space. What do you do with it? Well, you give 8 minutes of nothing, and then there's a song at the end of it.
Definitely. Like because it's not as easy. Like you couldn't just fast forward and stuff. So and I don't know. It's kind of like with vinyl. I wish I wrote a paper about it in college. Not that it means anything, but I was like, CDs. At some point, that generation of people will become nostalgic for those, and they'll come back around. But.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to make a CD cool. It's like vinyl. They did it. It's this big round, and it's like, audio files up and everything, but it's just hard to make a CD cool.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what that angle is. I'm sure some marketing executive somewhere will be like, this is it or whatever, but I don't know what it is. But
CDs do sound really good though.
They're
literally like the best quality you can listen to.
That's what I've heard is that above all, they are
like out of every format, like CDs are like sonically, fundamentally, like the best thing you can listen to if you got a good stereo system. Because streaming stuff is is compressed, and then Spotify and Apple Music does their own compression on it. and stuff. YouTube does their own version of compression on it, so it's just compress on compress on compressed. And then with vinyl sounds awesome, but vinyl is like more of like a natural sounding. You know, you get warmer. You know, it's all based off. You know, if you have like a tube system, like a tube power amp. You know, everybody's vinyl, you know, record system sounds a little bit different. But like in like the truest sense of like audio, like CDs first, like they're the best sounding thing. It's really weird, but super cool to like. I wrote a paper about that too.
That's funny.
For like a sonic fundamental class, and really dove into it. And I had an instructor at the time that he was really into it too. And I remember we sat in his office. He like showed me, he had a record player in there and stuff. He would play like a song on Spotify. They'd play a song on the record player, all the same song, Spotify, record player, CD. And each you can hear the difference. But the CD was like, oh my God, this sounds really fucking good. You know?
Yeah.
That streaming one sounded shit. Yeah.
Right. Give it 10 years and we'll all get nostalgic about that.
Yeah, everybody has CD cases.
My
back
CD
in their car.
collection, will be worth
my
thousands.
My son went through, because we were cleaning out the garage and I had my album, you know, your CD album that you used to carry around in your car and about to kill somebody because you needed to get the other CD, but you're also trying to drive. And
you got lucky because you got the 6 CD changer.
Right.
So like, oh, I skipped it. Shit.
Going back. He was going through it, and I love reading liner notes. I love reading.
Oh, it's like one of the best parts. It's how you get connected to
exactly.
it. You can pull out the album work and there's
I saved all that stuff, and so now that
was your only chance to like get to know the band. You know, social media. So they decided to put all that, but that's cool. How like it was a different way for them to add their own artistic flair into it.
Yeah, you see where it was recorded, who was on it.
And,
and he's all into it now. So now he took my what do they call those little album CD albums? What do they call those little slips in there? Whatever, the books, and he hangs them on his wall now.
Oh yeah, cool.
He's really into the Beatles, so he'll he's got them all up there.
Dude, I had the Hootie and the Blowfish first album booklet on my tacked to my wall growing up for whatever fucking reason. I don't know what was the first album.
You weren't even like a huge
it was the
Hootie guy.
The cracked rear view mirror.
Something
My
like
brother
that.
had that album,
and it had like the really obscure kind of like pictures of like some statue and shit. And I was just like, "Fuck, I love Hootie." And I put it on my house. Like, why did it's still on my wall at my parents' house? Every time I go in there, I'm always like, "Fucking Hootie."
That's great.
Yeah.
Luke, were you the primary? Were you the primary songwriter in that?
We did
project?
it both together.
Oh, okay.
Some songs I would write 100%. Some songs he'd do the same, but there's some really cool songs on there where we literally were able to do it together.
Oh, very cool.
Which was really cool because I don't do that anymore with anybody.
I was gonna say, do you have a preference? You know, writing by yourself or writing with someone else, or maybe none. It's just kind of how the song comes to you. That
Back then, I loved writing with him, and we had the same ear. It was just like I said, it was so fortunate because we both loved the same stuff. There was differences, right? But we both wanted, I think, in a way, to write the same kind of thing, which is odd. One, to grow up next to a person who wants to do that. And as I found, like I have tried to write with other people, and I've sat in with other songwriters and just really just listened and then just tried to help. Hey, this is what I heard. Well, other friends that do it, and I really enjoyed that. But I don't know if I could. It'd have to be the right situation, and
I got you.
With my old band, it really was, because, like I said, there was just the atmosphere of creativity, and we didn't take every idea. Everything we didn't do was gold, obviously, like anything. But we were able to filter through the muck,
sure,
in a way.
Yeah. It's just interesting because everybody's got their own individual way of writing, and it's just cool to kind of dig into that and from someone else's perspective.
Yeah, I think I would do it again. For me, when our band split up, I just, like anybody, you guys probably do the same thing. I just kept writing.
Right.
And
well, I think it just like builds up that creativity, like it builds up. It literally affects your mood sometimes because you're like, oh my God, it's all I can think about. Like I need to get this out on paper. I need to play guitar right now or whatever. And it just builds up,
Agree. Yeah. And so that's what I did for like 7-8 years while my wife and I had kids and we were in the baby mode. So I guess what I'm saying is I think I got really used to just going at it solo. What's interesting, you've kind of reminded me, I was going to do this album by myself. I went to 33rd Street with Gilson and was initially just going to do the drums and told him, hey, I'm just going to do the drums and then I'm just going to do the rest at home. I've got a couple of things I'm just going to get and that I'll do there. And as I got to going through it, the 98% of it was I'm way in over my head and I want this to sound good and I can't do that.
Right.
The other 2% was it's kind of lonely. And I miss the collaboration and I miss having somebody to bounce this off of. And that's what was really kind of cool about Gilson and what he became he helped me produce it he helped me produce it. When we were doing vocals, when we were doing guitars, it was nice just to say, this is what I've come up with. What are you hearing?
Yeah.
And
I think that's for smaller studios like us included in that, Bicentennial included in that. I think that's like one of our key pillars of what we do, because, let's face it, we're not getting Foo Fighters in here. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So the people who are looking for a little direction and, maybe they don't know exactly what they want their final song to sound like, but they know the, path to get there in a way, it's maybe a little meandering and stuff like that. But, we're being there to help guide you to that final product. And I think that's what a lot of in this age of bedroom studios and stuff like that, that's that element that's missing, is that it's just a slight upgrade in, maybe not even slight, but a bigger upgrade in gear and stuff like an environment, but it's just having someone else that is there specifically to help you. Because if you have a friend over that can, that relationship is different. It's a different, you may not be on the same you may be on the same wavelength, but you're both kind of fighting a different battle and that creativeness that ensues and everything. So anyways,
mindset
I think
change too.
Yeah, that
just
definitely.
When the bedroom stuff is like, it sucks because, and this speaking from experience, that's your comfy spot, and that's where all your distractions are. That's where your bed is. That's where your TV is and shit. And you need to like get out of that.
Yeah.
And, like get somewhere where like every time I come here and I play some on guitar, I play some totally different than I would in my room. For some reason, it's just like a mindset change. You get out of the house and you drive somewhere and you get away from everything, That's kind of like the strong suit of this place, is you can kind of like escape for a day and just come and work on some shit. And it feels like time moves a little bit slower, and we're kind of like taking our time on things.
Yeah.
And it helps people kind of like clear the mind up, you know, and having like not really good reception out here sucks ass when you're trying to like get your fantasy football league to upload or update. You're like, come on, god damn it. You're just trying to upload a fucking song to Google Drive or something, and you're like, shit. But it's really good because you don't get bothered by anything. You just kind of disappear for 7 hours and get some shit done and then leave.
But it sounds like you kind of went through the similar deal at 33rd. It was kind of like, I did need this in a way without me even really knowing it.
100%. Gilson told me, he was like, when we did the drums, he's like, if you want to do some stuff here, I'd be open to it because I know when you're recording, it's hard to be your technical left brain and then to go into creativity. And, you guys probably do it where you swivel on your chair and like do your stuff on the computer, get things set back up, and then swivel back over and be the songwriter. And
give me 15 minutes. I got to name and color code all these fucking tracks. And then you're like, what are we doing again?
Right.
I'm like, that creativity has already left me.
That's exactly right. And that probably was the key thing, is being able to just walk into the studio and not have to be that other side.
Gotcha.
Especially, I wouldn't even call myself a novice. I know how to push the space bar. And
Yeah, definitely.
The red one records.
Right.
Man, we were working on a Moses album. We had our buddy Mason come in and just like play just be the third guy.
Yeah, kind of the producer role.
Yeah.
And just be like, hey, because and me and him, we are on the same wavelength when it comes to like how we like songs to sound, and like, you know, we got the same engineering brain.
Yeah.
You know, but it was good for him. You know, I didn't have to color code tracks or type shit in or anything like that. I was just like, Mason, you just take over the board, take over the keyboard and all that shit. And that really helped.
Oh, I'm
that
sure.
like it. Yeah. And just having, you know, and we trusted Mason and I trust his input and stuff. So finding that guy can like, really elevate everything, all of your songs.
Yeah, the album wouldn't be what it was, and I wouldn't be as happy with it if Gilson hadn't had his hands on it, especially in that aspect, what you're talking about, and then in the mixing side too. But have you guys recorded an album here?
Yeah, we've recorded.
Cool.
I mean, we've done all three of the Moses ones here, and
At this place?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And then, you know, counting on everybody else that's come out here, you know, recorded stuff. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty big album guys.
Yeah.
You know, like
I love that.
we always tell ourselves like we just need to do a single, or we just need to do an EP. But like, I want the album shit. Like, I want songs that like blend into each other.
We just have so
or
many
something.
ideas, you know, and like I've noticed that when we do have an idea, we don't, because a lot of bands you'll read from interviews or whatever biographies, they'll be like, well, we had these 25 songs and we whittled them down to like 12 songs, but like we don't do that. We have an idea.
Double side.
Yeah,
Double
well,
album.
Well, it's not even like we're just like we have an idea and it's like we're gonna do something with this. Like there's a couple cool parts in it that need to stay, and we need to do something because it could be something cool.
Yeah.
So I definitely think we have. It's both like a hindrance and really awesome because you take something that would have never had a life anyways and you make it into something really cool. But at the same time, it's like maybe if we just shelved that idea like 2 months ago, we wouldn't still be trying to figure out what we should do for the bridge, you know, or whatever.
And that's when having a third person in, you know, like when you're by yourself, you're like, I need somebody else here. I need a second person. But when you get too comfortable with that second person, now you need a third, because that second person is now you. Now you're just one entity. Now you need a third person because then you can be like, dude, we got to get this shit done because we got to send these tracks off to Mike so he can get drums to them.
Yeah.
You
By
know?
the time he gets to 5 people, that's when you have a really good band.
You just slowly build it. But you need, you know, it goes back to it. You need those people around you because everybody, like, you know, they start picking up slack, you know? Now there's just not.
Well, and
two
you have
guys
someone to
in
call
there.
you out on your bullshit. You know, that's like, hey, I think we're cutting corners on, you know, like, nah, we need to do it again.
Yeah.
It's not, that guitar track isn't good, or
And
that
you push
drums
each other,
aren't good.
you
We
know?
need to,
Right.
you know.
No, 100%. I feel so behind because I'm the same with you on the album. All these, I played with a couple of groups and just met a couple of people around town, and I kind of feel like I'm dipping my toes back into something I was a part of, you know, 10, 12 years ago. But they all talk about releasing a single, and they all talk about, hey, our single's coming out. And I'm like, oh, I missed that memo. And
Yeah, but it's all about the single game now, dude.
Yeah.
I want the fucking double album shit.
Right,
to come
I
back,
know.
dude.
I'm like, an album, you know, I want to hear it from the beginning to the end, and I want to know. Mastering this album was so fun because I worked with a guy in via Zoom. I worked with the guy in Seattle and sequencing the album and like talking about how the track goes from one track to the next. And
That
the
is
next.
the
That's
hardest
so fun.
shit to figure out by yourself. I tried to do that with a Moses song, and I was like, yeah, damn, this is way harder because I wanted one song to bleed into the other
Right.
one. But you gotta know what you're doing to do it.
It was so fun because like I just got to sit there and talk, and he'd be like, "Well, you mean something like this?" And he was so good at it. He'd be like, well, all right, here we go. We got a sunset and we got a sunrise. He used all these words.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
like,
great.
this is so cool. But just song order, I mean, I don't know. It makes you sound like you're from a bygone era, and it is a bygone era because, you know, albums don't make money anymore.
I mean, I have faith it will come back. You know,
I agree. I should.
you look at the
retract
early
that.
days of recording. People released singles really often back
That's
then.
all they
When
do.
They just
Yeah.
released radio singles.
Yeah.
You know?
And they say it's all cyclical.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
all will
Yeah.
come back around.
And by
in
like
some
the
kind of weird way.
Yeah.
you know.
60s, mid 60s to like all the way up to the 2000s. It was just, album stuff, cool
That's
album
true.
stuff,
Yeah.
and now it's back in the single EP. We'll probably go back to it.
Yeah.
It just takes that one band to blow up that has this really cool conceptual album, then everybody's like, oh, we should start doing that again.
Exactly.
You know,
We need a dark side of the
and then
moon
everybody
or
like
something.
us, you know, we're like, we've been doing this for 12 fucking years, god damn it, and we
Yeah.
only got like 18 monthly listeners.
Exactly.
We just sound bitter.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
those
then-
bitter old
and then in
guys.
the back of our heads, okay, what are we going to say in our interview when it comes to the documentary
you're
about
always
how
gonna
there
be that-
were
you're always
people
gonna
who
be
did
that old
albums
guy.
before the
It's like, I was doing that shit way before those
That's right.
motherfuckers
Yeah.
did it.
Exactly right. Come hear it. Come
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
It's just 2 hours long. Just do it.
yeah,
You hear this 15-minute long silence at the end of the song. Yeah, that was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wilco. What was it? A Ghost is Born? They did like just this. I don't know. It's like some white noise for
Yeah.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah. We need more of that. We
Yeah.
need more white noise.
Yeah.
it's
we
called
need-
art. Okay,
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I need more 14-minute long songs. You know.
Luca. So is this album out?
Yeah.
Is it? It is
yeah.
out. Okay.
June 30th. I don't know, released it, I guess. or
yeah,
made
yeah.
it
What's
available.
the name of the album?
Milk River?
Milk River.
Yeah.
Okay. Are all 4 of those songs that you played for us today from
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're all on there.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, you want to talk briefly about those? Kind of dive
Sure.
in. The first one was Madeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably one of the oldest songs on the album. One of those, like I said, was probably would have been with that other band, and we actually played it live, I think, a couple of times at the fair or something. But
Great place to play it.
it was fun. We played in that
Band shell.
The Shell.
there you go. Thank
yeah,
you.
the
Yeah,
Shell.
yeah. That was
Always
neat.
great spot. Great look.
It's
I
one
mean,
of those locations you have
if you're
to
from
play there.
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
you
Just
need
gotta
to
do
play
it.
the Oklahoma State Band Shell,
Exactly.
man. That,
Just get it done with.
yeah.
We hadn't done it. It was like, oh, this is cool. But yeah, that song. It's one of the oldest. It started out as a ballad, and then one day, like when you're tweaking around with stuff, I was just like, what if I just sped it all up? And I have had that demo in my head for 12 years, and it was probably maybe one of the hardest ones to record because I had that in my head for
right.
so long.
Yeah.
and-
Preconceived
Exactly.
notion of what it actually is, but like when you start playing it, yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. I get it.
yeah. But it's probably to me it's as people have listened to it and the album, and that's been one of the songs that people have been drawn to. I think one of the most. So.
Yeah. I mean, it was beautifully put
Oh,
for
thanks.
sure. Yeah. I enjoyed it. And then the second song was
All We Ever.
All We Ever. Yeah.
Yeah, that song it starts the album.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was kind of a powerful one.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and the
just
guy.
the way you were strumming it and getting into it is kind of like, okay, yeah, it's conveying a message.
Yeah,
for sure.
the guy Randy Sanders. He's a guitarist in the city, and he's amazing. He played guitar on it and came up with a lick. I didn't know what song was going to start the album. Like I was talking about, was sequencing and track order and stuff. Leading up to when we were mastering, I really didn't have a clue which one. But that he has a hook in that song that just
Oh, okay,
like
very
made
cool.
it. This should open the album, because I always thought this is weird to start an album that for the most part nobody's ever heard me, and the first line is like, "Where the hell?" It's like, what? You know, is he trying to be cool? You know, by saying something
You trying
like
to be
that?
edgy? huh?
Exactly.
Is
Yeah,
that
there
it?
you go. And then I knew my kids would call me out on it, but and they have. But that lick just kind of. It was also the first song that Gilson mixed, and kind of set the tone for the entire album of what it would sound like. Like getting technical, you know, like what are the drums going to sound like? What's going to be our sound moving forward? And he definitely like just killed it on that.
Yeah, and I think that was when you first shot me an email. It was which is Dylan DYLAN at Pigfest. Okay, if anybody is interested in also being on the show. But when you first shot me an email, there was a link, I think, to the album maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyways, I listened to that was the first. It was the first one. I
Yeah.
clicked on that, listened to it, and I was like, I thought it was really good. I did not think you were contrived at all
Oh,
by
thanks.
beginning the song. Yeah. So contrary to your kids, I have a differing opinion.
There you
yeah,
go.
So
Well, and I always thought of it as like the where the hell, and then Gilson actually was like, but I love that line because he says is all the time we promise. He's like, who can't relate to that?
True.
And I was like, oh, I'd never put the two. I don't know why I put the two and two together. So, but yeah, but I wanted to also kick it off with, something that rocked a little bit.
Yeah,
So
for sure. And then third one's the Blue Sky.
Clear Blue Morning.
Clear Blue Morning. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you're good. Like I was saying when I was singing, like I don't even know. Sometimes the song, I'll call to the band what the song used to be called.
Oh yeah.
and the new name that I chose for the album or the new lyric, I have no clue what it is, but that is probably one of the latest that I wrote, because I wrote these songs over. Some of them were left over, and then some of them were just over time. They've been with me for a long time.
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of the motivation to record the whole album. Was just I was sick and tired of just hearing them demo stage, and we were just to the point where it's like, I just need to go record these, and whatever becomes of it, and it doesn't really matter. I just want to get it out there. And I've talked about it a couple of times, but there's a book that a friend gave to me that just talks about art, and he's a graphic artist and a drawer, painter, but crosses lines.
Yeah,
but it just basically talks about just do it to do it, and create the art that's in you, and it was just real motivating because as we were talking about earlier, there's not ever going to be I'm not feeding my kids with these songs,
right?
And we're not paying the bills with it, so but
you don't have these pre-built expectations, which
Right.
is where those second, third albums of some bands, like you're like, what the hell? The sound is this? Why doesn't it? And it's because they're trying to cater to an audience, group of people, label, whatever that is, like, you need to sound like this, and it
Right.
changes. But yeah, there's like definitely a freedom, like you were saying, that to doing it without those.
Sure, and because I had never done it on my own either. I'd always been in a band, and which I love. I wish that was still around me, but it was challenging, but also a lot of fun to go in it alone.
Yeah,
and to figure out what
probably a different kind of reward to like rewarding yourself, just for like I did it,
For sure.
I did this,
Exactly. Like you kind of forget that that this kind of all came out of you.
Yeah.
After a time, because you start to hear it from a different perspective, and you're like, okay, well, there's that song, but you forget the moments when you actually create, or it came to you, or
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that song is one of the latest ones, and definitely probably my favorite of the entire album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe because it's the latest, but maybe you guys know how it is. You feel like you hit when you get an idea, when you get a spark, we feel like you fulfilled it.
Yeah.
There's some songs out there that you feel like, I never really got it there.
Yeah, well, it's like I was saying earlier when that teacher had told me, at ACM, he was like, if you're not making something new that you think is the best you've ever made, what's the point?
Right.
If you're not getting better each time. So I think every song feels like here recently, every song we've been doing, it beats the last one, and just
that's a good place to be in.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if we're like in some kind of like weird, like gold rush mental era, like songwriting era, or, that we're in or whatever, but it's just like, you just feel really good about each one you wrote in progressive order. It just keeps getting better, and better is like a really subjective word, but it's like, it does feel like it's okay. I like that song, maybe even a little bit more than that last one.
Right.
And, so on and so forth.
It's like when you get a new guitar. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't love my other guitar any less. I just love this thing equally now.
Yeah.
exactly.
Maybe
It's
even
like-
more. Yeah.
Then you just become a mother to all these songs. You're like, I love you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some parts of you I don't love, but you make up for it in this other part of the song. You know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, and not everybody's gonna love that song, but it's probably the one that's just mine. So,
Right.
Yeah, write stuff
that's
for
cool.
yourself first.
Right.
You know?
And that's cool, because not everything's gonna hit, and I've been reminded of that. Like, it's not every song's gonna hit everybody the same way. Some people, like I do, some people are gonna be like, like I
For
do with
sure.
songs, and then some are like, whoa,
Yeah.
I gotta stop and listen to that again.
Yeah.
Which, so yeah, the expectations were very low. my wife kept asking me, she's like, okay, so what do we do now?
Yeah.
What's all this time and stuff? But no, the it was that song kind of for me, since it was the last one I wrote, and I felt like the sound of it was kind of represented what I've always kind of wanted to sound like. And like I said, without a band, you got to take in all the
Right.
we weren't a U2, where everybody's
Right.
but we
right.
also weren't just Hootie and the Blowfish. I don't know how they run, but if Hootie was the main guy, and the
Yeah.
Blowfish, did they get an opinion? I don't
Yeah.
know. But so but
that's a hard dynamic. Band dynamics suck.
they are hard, but they can produce amazing things,
Yeah.
right? Like
well, they can fall apart
or
super easy too.
they're
Yeah.
so fragile.
Yeah.
Bands are so fragile, and it's hard because everything's pushing against them. And if you don't, I'm not saying I had this from experience, but if you can feel it,
Yeah,
if you don't
exactly.
keep the bad out, whatever it is, the jealousy or
Yeah. That tension will rise so easy.
Right.
It's like you don't even know. It's like Aaron put it, I think, one time. It's like being married to, you're literally in this super intimate relationship where you're each sharing basically a kid,
Mhm.
and you've got to be so egoless as to be like, yes, you can put your imprint on the child, that my child, be warned,
Yeah.
whatever. But I think it's just, you just got to put work into that relationship,
Right.
and that's the hard. That's like the hard part with every band. It's
It
like
is.
you had to find time to, be humans and be band members outside of just the writing process.
Right.
The creative process.
It is hard. It sounds like you guys kind of have a similar background than I had with our band members. We all knew each other before the band,
Yeah,
right?
that definitely helps.
It does
Yeah.
help a ton because that relationship's already kind of established, and that was the nice thing is some of these songs, even with the songwriter that we wrote together, back in the day, we'd still trade songs and just say,
Mhm.
hey, what do you think of this? And so that's always just it's nice to have somebody there to call you out or to say, yeah, keep
Mhm.
going. You need that, and but yeah, that song again, probably my favorite, but just for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
But lyrically, melody, and then musically, I feel like for me, that's what I wanted to
Yeah.
sound like.
Yeah, totally.
So.
And before we wrap it up, the fourth song was, remind me again.
Country Radio.
Country Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that one, man, that song is so funny because a lot of people gravitate towards it, and it's funny to me because it's narrative and there's a story in
Yeah.
it, and I've had a lot of people like, what is that? Like, is that you? Is that did you?
Really?
Is that your story? And I'm like, no, that is not my story at all. I didn't tell you guys this. I know you guys went to ACM, but I went to UCO.
Okay.
And
cool.
so I was an English major there. So to reveal the nerd side, like I love story and narrative. And
Definitely.
that's one of my motivations in songwriting is being able to convey some sort of just story, move some, I'm moved by music. I'm moved by songs. Like so the same things that music has done for me in my life, that's always kind of been my motivation.
Oh,
as a
definitely.
songwriter,
Yeah.
is to be able to maybe do that for someone else.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
And the reason that song's funny to me because it's just a completely made up story.
Hey, some of the best are.
They
man.
are.
Yeah, some of the best are.
But people have like really like, I'm like, are you joking? You think that's really me? How could you ever even
That's
get
funny.
to that
Yeah,
point?
that's funny.
But I don't write a ton from. I'm not. My MO is not going to be a personal song every time,
Mm-hmm.
and I did that when I was 12, 13, 14. I left those there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
but
most of the
it's
time
still
for good
there.
reason.
They're
Yeah.
all personal. I say that kind of jokingly. They're all personal, and they've all got you in them. But for me, like I want people to connect with it. So not that I'm being disingenuous, but just wanting to not, talk about myself or sing
it's
about
almost
myself
like
all the time.
you don't want to be
Crowd
like
the song up,
cheesy
you
or
know?
anything.
Like-
You
Right.
don't want to be like overwhelmingly like, you're not, I don't know, some romantic singer. That's not how you want to portray yourself.
Right.
So
Right.
no, I totally understand. It's like this song was written this way in order to convey this message that I like. And it's all art. It's all
Yeah.
subjective.
Yeah.
So I think
People like
to
to find their own meaning in songs. You
Yeah,
know?
definitely.
So,
Definitely.
I did, and I still do, and I don't even like. We were talking about Petty, and like for me, Dylan and Petty set the standard, and I don't ever think that the I is Bob Dylan or Tom Petty. I don't know why. I mean, sometimes it is.
yeah,
Maybe
man.
Wildflowers it was for Petty, but
Dude, Petty, man.
you
Like,
know,
in Aaron's world, there's nobody better songwriting.
he's-
You can't name a name. You name and throw it at me. I won't even consider it.
I was watching the Gators
Tom
game
Petty.
last night, and they were showing them singing.
I can't
Going
do it.
Back
I
Down.
can't watch it, dude. I get too. I'm like, oh fuck this,
I'm the
dude.
same
Why is Florida?
way.
Why does Florida? Why does it have to be a Florida? Why can't it be an OU thing? Why can't we do that at OU? Why can't Tom Petty be in Oklahoma?
There you go.
Like, fuck. Like, why does Florida get that?
I 100% agree with everything you said.
That's going in the next
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That's on the Luke Rountree album too.
Yeah, there you go.
Why?
Fuckers.
But yeah,
The
they had those
hell?
lights on.
Yeah,
and
it's so
my
fucking cool.
Gosh, it was. I got chills, and but yeah, I think those are the guys who can share a story, whether it's an I or a we or a they or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and just move you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yeah, he had the best Super Bowl halftime, by the way.
Not
in
without
my
a
opinion.
doubt.
Yeah.
Tom Petty is.
I mean, I don't know.
he's
Prince,
the dude.
Prince with
Oh,
Purple Rain
he's
in,
the guy.
in the rain.
We had
was
this
pretty
conversation
awesome.
last week in my family, and my wife Googled it, and Prince is number one.
Look, dude.
And I do got to probably bow down. to
I
that. That
love
was good.
Petty. I love Petty. I like Petty more than Prince.
I don't know. Gaga was pretty good. She jumped off that
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah, the spider monkey thing
Yeah.
where she just
Yeah.
like jumped out the.
In terms of memes, Gaga was up
There
there.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Dude, the weekend with the face thing.
The
That was
Weeknd,
a
yeah,
great.
that was
a great.
that was
meme.
pretty
That
fucking
was me.
stupid.
I remember looking at my mom and saying, "This is awesome because it's horrible."
But so many good memes are gonna come out
Yeah,
of
but I
this.
was like, the memes are going to be
Yes.
amazing. And the next day they were. They were so
were.
good. But yeah, I don't know, man.
Queen-
Prince in
Prince
the
is-
Rain.
Yeah,
That's pretty incredible.
that was. I always forget about Prince's, but
where he's doing that, ripping that Purple Rain solo. That is
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
yeah.
But it's not Tom Petty.
But it wasn't Tom Petty and Mike Campbell and
True enough.
Ben. How do you
the
say
closest
that? Yeah.
we missed out on Petty when he came on his last tour in 2017, and I remember
Yeah,
saying
he opened up
the
that tour there.
tickets
at the
were
Paycom
fucking
Center.
expensive. I remember we telling ourselves like, "Oh man, we'll get him next time. Like, don't worry about it. You know, like we can't. I mean, legit, like nosebleeds were like $160, and being in like fucking in college, we're like, dude, we don't
Yeah.
have that fucking
Well, it's
money.
the same with Rush, man. When Rush played up at BOK
Yeah.
on their last tour,
And they kicked it off up in Tulsa
I
too.
know,
That was their.
dude.
That's
I
what
was
it was
like,
weird.
I was like, I'll catch it because I don't know. I was just like, man, I can't.
I think
at
about
the
that Tom
time, I
Petty
was like
shit at least
17
like
or 18 or something. I was like,
a minute and a
I can't
half.
do that.
every week. At least a minute and a half goes to that Tom Petty. I'm like,
You think about Tom Petty
Why did I
like
go-
every other man thinks about Rome.
The
yeah. I'm
You're-
like,
yeah,
fucking
ancient
hell.
Rome.
Did you get asked that question?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
What was
yeah.
your answer?
Oh, probably once or twice a week
Yeah.
at least.
Thank God I did not get asked that.
You
No,
haven't got
I
asked
haven't
yet?
got
It's
that.
coming.
I didn't know that TikTok. I didn't know it was a TikTok. Like Lindsay just asked me, and I was like, once or twice a week. I mean, think about the engineering.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I mean, I follow
You know?
so many subreddits that are like old architecture, and they always post like
Yeah.
and
Roman
what
stuff,
this looked
dude.
like and what it looks like now. So I mean, I'm probably like on a daily basis, because I'll go through Reddit like, the Pantheon,
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah. Oh my God,
And-
they
and
flooded
then-
the Coliseum.
and then
It
you had
had-
a week. When was the Pantheon built? Who built the Pantheon?
Right.
How long did this take?
Right.
And then your 15-minute shit is now 55 minutes, and you got hemorrhoids and a red ring around your ass, and
It's the worst.
the fucking
Your
legs
if you
are
don't
asleep.
relate to that, you're
like,
just
fuck.
lying to yourself.
yeah.
You're
exactly
lying
right.
to yourself.
It's like fucking.
If
A,
you don't
man.
come home
Yeah.
after work and take a super long dump and you're not even taking a dump, you're just sitting there having some away time for yourself.
Yeah, man.
If you say that, no, I don't do that, you're lying. You're a liar. That's what you are.
It's the hard press questions here.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
We talk about the real shit.
Now I'm sweating.
How long are your shits?
Yeah, exactly.
Too long for my wife.
Yeah,
Exactly,
well,
yeah.
they'll always be that. Okay, they'll always be that.
I'm reading shit on the Pantheon.
That's
Fuck,
right.
leave
Yeah.
me alone.
I'm trying to research.
Now you're on the Ancient Aliens part of fucking YouTube. You're like, oh, so the aliens built the Pantheon. You're like, fucking hey. How deep does this shit go?
The pyramids go underground.
Yeah.
They're actually upside down.
Yeah, I gotta make money off this thing. How can I make money off this? It's simply too good.
That's
Well, all right, and with that, so where can everybody find you, Luke? Just Luke Rountree on social media, everything like that.
I think Instagram is where I'm learning that. So
Cool.
Learning social media.
Yeah, hey man, we are all on the same boat. Yeah,
We haven't had anybody come in that's been like, yeah, I'm a bad bitch at social media.
Okay, good. Good.
Everybody's
that
like,
makes me feel good.
Yeah, I think everybody's like, we suck.
Yeah.
I've never met anyone who's like, oh, I like, contriving
Content.
forcing myself into a
Right.
2x2 inch square.
I
on
love
Instagram,
scheduling out my
you know?
posts.
Yeah.
So much fun. Wow, but everybody's constantly like, oh god, I hate it.
Yeah. So go to Instagram, go to Spotify, Apple, and then what's funny, I also have a website, but nobody goes to that, which is I wouldn't go to a website. It's like dinosaur, but
I've thought about like having a website and it just leads to like those, like when Google Chrome is down or something, they have the little dinosaur game where you just jump over like cactuses or whatever, and it just leads to that.
Should just lead to that old turtle game that we used to play off mini clip where you like launch the turtles.
Yeah,
you can the turtles and stuff.
The turtles exactly. It's like
People are
Angry
like-
Birds or something. Yeah.
that's a good idea. I like
Yeah.
that.
But anyway, so you can find Luke on everything. Yeah. He's on all the stuff, but mainly Instagram. And this episode, if you haven't watched the Spark and Plug episode with Luke, it's got 4 songs that we've talked about on here, and they're all fantastic. I really enjoyed each one. Really enjoyed the Americana, the songwriting, the descriptions, the imagery in each one of them. And Luke, do you have any shows coming up or anything like that?
We don't at this time, but we've got.
Okay, so keep posted.
Yeah, keep posted, and we've got a live. It's not a live show, but it's a live video, like the one I was telling you about, where we did,
sick,
we did
yeah.
country radio, and it was a lot of fun. So it's the full band, and if you want
awesome.
to see
Yeah.
what we sound like live, you can go there.
Yeah, with the full band and everything like that. Because Luke was just acoustic on the Spark and Plug here. But this has been Spark and Plug Talks, Season 2, Episode whatever. And
You'll know it when you see it in the title, motherfucker.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm able to keep track of all that digitally now, but not with me. So this has been Dylan, and I'm signing off.
Just Dylan. I'm still on.
Not Aaron.
Yeah, when you listen past this, I'll still be on.